iBPS is a platform-independent, scalable business process management solution built using open technologies. It has seamless integration abilities, allowing it to be introduced into any IT infrastructure. In short, it can be defined as software that enables the definition, implementation, monitoring and management of components of a business processes. This tutorial will provide information about the new features added in iBPS. The new feature added in iBPS is case management. The case management framework offers enterprises a smart way to handle dynamic and unpredictable interactions between people, processes and content. The framework allows enterprises to design and deploy processes to manage scenarios which are ad hoc and most often do not follow a linear and predictable path. The framework allows users to manage each case by enabling the designing and execution of a case lifecycle. This tutorial will cover the following: detailed explanation on properties of a task, explanation on properties of the task tab in a case work step, to log into application. Enter the username, password and select the registered cabinet from the drop-down list in the cabinet box. Click the login link to proceed. On successful login, Omni application home screen appears. By default, Business Admin View appears selected. Select Process Designer View from the Views drop-down list. Process Designer home screen appears. By default, Abstract View of the design process appears selected. Click BPM and View tab to launch BPM and View of the process. The BPM and View of the process appears. The highlighted section in the BPM and View is Task Lane. Task Lane is used for adding new task in the process, and further the added task will be associated to a case work step. Click Task Template to add a new task. Select the new task from the Task Templates tab. Drag and drop new task in the Task Lane area. Double-click on the drop task. The task properties appears on the lower half of the screen. By default, Task tab appears selected. Task tab allows user to specify and change the description of the task and set other details such as the repeatable, cost, description, instructions, notify by email, task advisor, goal and turnaround time. Among all the properties of the task, instructions and goal are the two key properties. Instruction property allows user to specify instructions to complete the task, whereas the goal property allows user to set objective of the task. Let us view the defined instructions and goal of the pre-bid queries task. Double-click on pre-bid queries task. The defined instructions and goal for the pre-bid queries task appears. Now, to define task data and variable name for the new added task. Double-click on the task. Again, the properties of the task appears. Select the Data tab. The Data tab allows user to define task data and variable definition. Check in the Custom Form checkbox if you want to design a custom form for the task in Form Builder. Use Upload Form button to upload pre-designed NG form to the task. Or, use Add/Edit Form button to create or edit NG form. To add HTML default form to the task, uncheck the Custom Form checkbox and define the variables under Variable Definition tab. Enter the desired variable name in the Variable Name text box. Select Variable Type. The variable type can be a text, integer, date, long or float. Enter the desired display name in the Display Name text box. Select the control type. The control type can be a text box, text area or combo. Click on Add button. The defined variable gets added in the list. To modify a variable, select the checkbox of the variable which you want to modify. As you mark the checkbox, the variable details appear in edit mode. The Add button gets disabled and the Modify button gets enabled. As per your requirement, edit the defined variable definition and click the Modify button. The defined variable definition gets modified. After defining the variable definition, click on Save as Global button. The Save as Global button allows you to save the defined data as a global template. This means that, if it is saved as global, then this data definition will be made available across the cabinet. Thus, it can be used by any user for any process. The template name dialog box appears. Enter the desired template name and click the Add button. The newly added global template gets added in Task Templates of toolbox in order to delete the defined variable. Click the delete icon against the variable name that you want to delete. The deleted variable will be removed from the list of existing variables. Let us view the defined variables of the pre-bid queries task. Double-click on pre-bid queries task. Click the Data tab. The defined variables of the pre-bid queries task appears. Now, associate the defined task to a case workstep. Case Workdesk Workstep allows the process designer to associate tasks with the step, so that when the process comes to this step, the associated tasks can be performed by the user. To define the properties of Case Workdesk Workstep, select Case Workdesk from the toolbox under Activities tab. Drag and drop it on the work area. Double-click on the dropped Case Workdesk. The Case Workdesk properties appears. By default, the Entry Settings tab of Case Workdesk appears selected. Except Task tab, all other tabs are same to Workdesk tabs. Task tab enables a task or tasks to be associated with a Case Workdesk. Click Task to open the Task tab. The Task List section contains all the tasks defined for the process. The associated task list contains only those tasks which are associated with a Case Workdesk. To associate a task with Case Workdesk, select a task from the task list and click Add button. The selected task moves to the associated task list section. To make an associated task mandatory, click the mandatory checkbox against the desired task. Once a task is made mandatory, it becomes compulsory to complete this task to move to next step. If you do not wish to make a task mandatory, uncheck the mandatory checkbox. The next property is mapping. Mapping allows user to map task variables with the process variables. It implies that the data of the selected task variables is to be passed to the corresponding mapped variables of the process and vice versa. To perform variable mapping, click on Mapping button against the desired task. Variable mapping screen appears. Select a process variable from the process variable drop-down list against the defined task variables. Check the Read Only checkbox if you want the mapped variables to be read only. Click OK to save the mapping. The next property is precondition. Precondition is used to set precondition to enable the start of a task. System starts the task as the precondition becomes true while executing the process. To define a precondition, click on Precondition button against the desired task. Precondition screen appears. Select the condition type from the condition type drop-down list. Data, document and task are the three condition types to select from. Click OK to save the precondition definition. The next property is association. Association allows you to grant or cease, read/modify permissions on to-do lists, documents, exceptions and forms. If the read/modify permissions are not given, the end user working on Case Workdesk will not be able to view or modify the items while executing the process. To associate the properties, click on Association button against the desired task. The Property Association screen appears. On this screen, the user can configure properties of to-do, document, exception and form. Click OK to save the property association. Let us view the defined properties of Evaluation Case Workdesk. Double-click on Evaluation Case Workdesk. Click the Task tab. The task properties of Evaluation Case Workdesk appears. Here, the RFP analysis task is mandatory whereas pre-bid queries task is not mandatory for the evaluation activity. Click the respective mapping button of the task to view its mapping. The screen displays variable mapping of RFP analysis task with process variables. Now, click the respective precondition button of the task to view its preconditions. The screen displays define preconditions of RFP analysis task for the evaluation activity. Now, click the respective association button of the task to view its property association. The screen displays the property association of RFP analysis task for the evaluation activity. The description of newly added iBPS features ends here. Hope you were able to understand these new features. For further clarifications or queries, contact us on the following email address.